Good evening. I bring you greetings on behalf of our president of Iota Lambda Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Sharon Stanley Merriweather, and welcome you to Money Matter Mondays. Money Matter Mondays is a financial literacy workshop featured by the chapter's Building Your Economic Legacy Committee. I am Lisa Spear Etheridge, and I am an attorney who works as in-house counsel for a Virginia-based technology and accounting firm. I am also a member of AKA's Building Your Economic Legacy Committee and have the distinct pleasure of facilitating tonight's workshop on crushing your debt, financial makeover strategies. We are honored to have as our guest presenter and subject matter expert, Deborah Owens, founder and CEO of Wealthy You, whose mission it is to help 1 million Black women build their first seven-figure investment portfolios. Deborah is a 20-year veteran of the financial services industry, a former vice president with Fidelity Investments, and author of 3 critically acclaimed books, most recently, A Purse of Your Own, published by Simon & Schuster. We have some great objectives for the focus of our talk this evening. Tonight, we are here to discuss how to crush your debt with a financial makeover strategy. Welcome to our platform, Deborah. It is an absolute pleasure having you here with us this evening.
Well, I'm so excited to be here as well. And this topic is near and dear to the mission of my company, Wealthy You. And we believe that all Black women should achieve the level of financial success that they desire and that they deserve, Lisa. And so this particular topic around slaying your debt and really taking ownership is critical in order to start to build wealth, because that's what debt is. It's like having a hole in your purse.
Yes. Well, why should women make crushing their debt or slaying their debt a priority?
Because when debt takes an emotional toll, as many of us know. You worry, and what it can do to you both psychologically and physiologically, as well as financially, if you're able to take control of your finances. What we've learned, and we've coached thousands of women through our program, is that it really puts you on the path to confidence. You know, I wanted to start by just sharing with our audience. Every quarter or so, we have a financial makeover challenge. And in that challenge, we really help women find the money to pay off debt. And in one of our earlier challenges, just as COVID hit last year, one of our now members of our Wealthy Youth Society, she wasn't at the time, she literally was able to pay off over $500,000 worth of debt. She went from a negative 5,700 net worth, to a 400,000 positive net worth. Now, you know, it is interesting the way she did that. Part of it was she found that she was spending over $3,500 a month, you know, just on those kind of personal care, hair care, massages, subscriptions. And in going through that process, and then she was carrying all this debt. Now, mind you, some of it was student loan debt, but a lot of it was, you know, just debt she had been carrying from helping other people. And I often feel like that because as Black women, many times, especially if we've been successful in our careers, we have a tendency to almost be that kind of bank and trust of the family. And it was not until she was able to first identify what she has. You know, you can't change what you will not acknowledge. And then actually have a strategy that she was able to really take ownership. And those are the tips that I want to share with our audience
Oh,
this evening.
I love this. Wealthy You. And by the way, I love the spelling of your university, Wealthy You, Financial Makeover. That's really catchy. Strategies. Okay, so the 3 steps to crushing your debt.
Yes. And so
What are
that's
they?
really, yeah, that's really what I want to chat about this evening. So here are the 3 steps that Sharon took. And so, you know, some of you certainly may not have as much debt as one of our members, but the first thing is to take a financial snapshot. And so one of the things that's really important, that financial snapshot is like your personal financial statement, right? So assets minus liabilities, that gives you your net worth. Next is really choosing a strategy around how you're going to pay off that debt. And then finally, and this is very important, Lisa,
Okay.
finding the money to pay off that debt. And so those are kind of the steps that I want to go through this evening. And if anyone has, I can't wait to see some of the questions around how anyone can crush their debt or slay their debt, the way I like to characterize it tonight.
Well, we can definitely start at the beginning because I want to understand this as well. I think this is a great topic. But so what is your actual financial snapshot? How do you know you've moved through these stages? But what would you say your financial snapshot is? How do you know
So
we've done that?
really, really easy, right? Now I know, you know, like if we were looking at a company, we would be looking at their balance sheet, but we're going to look at our personal balance sheet, right? And so we're just going to write down just take out a sheet of paper, and then you're going to look at everything you own. Those are your assets, right? So whether it's your car, jewelry, perhaps you have property, you're going to put the value of all that ownership on one side, right? And then on the other side, you're going to put down all of your liabilities. So, of course, for many of us, that biggest liability is going to be our mortgage, even though we have value on this side of the ledger, right? So we'll put our mortgage, but then we're going to look at that credit card debt. And the interesting thing about credit card debt or consumer loan, it could be credit cards, auto loans, any kind of loan that's unsecured, if you will. You know, like our house, our mortgage is secured by our house, but a lot of that unsecured debt typically has the highest interest rates, and there's no benefit to carrying that anymore. You know, whereas with your mortgage, right, you get to deduct that mortgage interest, but you no longer get to deduct that unsecured debt, and that compounding of that debt, if you're just making the minimum payment, it can, you know, rise really quickly. And so that's why it's important to get a handle on that debt in particular. And so once you have your assets minus your liabilities, the difference is your net worth. So hopefully that's a positive number. With Sharon that I talked about, hers was a negative number, and that was a wake-up call. But here's what I want to tell our audience. So often we're looking on how can I earn more income? And that was Sharon. She was like, she had a target that she wanted to hit a certain amount of income. But if you can't manage the other side of the ledger, it doesn't matter how much income you make, right? You can never outrun the debt or the compounding of that interest on debt just by making more income and not paying it off.
So is it almost like it's sobering no matter how much income you make? So you can bring in a lot of money, but you can be in the same situation that someone else is in who maybe doesn't have as high of a salary. Is that right?
Absolutely. So it's not how much money you make. I think, you know, we all know that Biggie Small, more money, more problems.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
And you know, it is the
Yes.
truth. So you hear about stories about like athletes or entertainers or people getting a big windfall. And then as soon as they receive all that money and once they spend it all, and part of that is not having a strategy, right? Or the right, what we call in wealthy habits through which you are focused on increasing your net worth. And when you just make that shift and start making financial decisions based on whether it's going to increase or decrease your net worth, you're going to make different decisions.
Now, did you tell us how much under she was, or did you not share that with us?
Yeah, no. So literally when she totaled up her debts that were, unsecured debt, it was over $250,000.
Okay.
A lot of money. But of course, her earnings were very high, right? So if you're earning that much, but then you have that much credit, it's almost like you're at negative. And to me, that's even more stressful, right? More stressful because you're earning an income. What if you were to lose that? There's no way you would be able to service that debt, right? If you didn't have the income to do so.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, that's the scary part too, that everybody should be thinking about. Well, I know that we certainly want to increase our net worth the fastest way possible, even if it's taking that hard look in the mirror and not being bedazzled by the amount of money you may have been offered or you make as a salary, or even all of the income that you have. You have to be honest first. And then we have to decide what it is that we have to do to increase our net worth, I guess. I'm trying to be a good
student. And so what we found in Wealthy You is that the women who have the most success are the women that face their fears, right? Like it really is fearful. And in terms, and in addition to that, right? There's a lot of shame about it. And there's so many ways that you can find yourself in that kind of debt. You could get ill, a lot of it, maybe you finance educations for your kids. There's a lot of ways that you get into, a high debt situation. But the only thing I want to say to anyone in this audience is we've seen women pay off, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. And what's interesting, and this year in the midst of COVID, some of our members have had some of their greatest success, but then COVID really was a reset, right? We really began to see that all of that dining out, all of that getting our nails done like every week, and I'm not, no shame. I mean, I was, it was nothing to just go get my hair done, go get my nails done, do it frequently. And you don't even realize how much, you're spending. And so that's what, certainly Sharon did, was really get a handle on that. And so the reason that many women are paying off debt is because, COVID basically had us holed up in our homes. So we weren't spending.
And we had to pay attention, right?
Yes.
We had to pay attention. And so I think that you have shared with us a type of personal financial statement. That is the snapshot. I think that might be in the chat as well. I didn't know if you wanted to discuss what that template is. I mean, I'm sure you're encouraging us to use it afterwards.
Absolutely. So it's basically a personal financial statement that you can put what we're talking about into action by going to that link, Nerd Wallet. If you don't know about Nerd Wallet, great site. Nerd Wallet. And .com, and I'm sure she has that, but that's excuse me, this actually is from Score. So this is from Score. So the key is to just put the information in there. It's self-explanatory, and get a sense of what your net worth is, so you can start focusing on and increasing your net worth and start to make decisions around whether or not it's going to increase or decrease your net worth. That's why we're talking about debt, because one of the fastest ways of increasing your net worth is decreasing your debt.
I love that connection that you've made, because I don't know if that's something that's inherent in people who are not necessarily in your industry. I mean, you might want to even say that again, because it's resonating more with me now during this last year of COVID, like you've said.
Well, yeah, and I do think that, that's one of the myths that we've been told about financial success, is that to be successful, just earn more money. Well, that's not necessarily true, right? Like more income does not equal financial success. What does equal financial success is the ability to have something left over from that income. And so that basically is what increasing your net worth really is.
And so if people go to NerdWallet and start this, would you say that they are brave if they just take that out and just start there? Because don't you have to start somewhere? I mean,
you do have to start somewhere. You know what? Here's all I want to say is this could take you maybe a couple of hours, right? So the first thing you want to do is, now everything's online anyway, right? So it's not like you're going in your file cabinet and getting some statements, right? You literally can go online, save each of your statements from all of your, your investment accounts, your credit card accounts, and whatever, and then start entering them on that sheet. And it shouldn't take you more than a couple of hours to get it done. And just, knowing that regardless of what that number is, today's the day. Today's the day. You get to change that. Nothing is in stone. That's the beautiful thing about life. Whatever we think on expands. And if we decide, and I've seen it, I've coached thousands of women who went from doubling their portfolios, paying off debt, buying their first homes, buying their second homes, their first investment properly. Money is an idea, and your ability to create wealth really is a function of the knowledge that you have. And so that's why financial literacy, and I really applaud the series, the Money Matter Mondays, and the efforts that the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority really focuses on financial literacy. So because it's so critical, right? It's like, it's something that we're not taught in our formal education. And that's why it's important, because that knowledge typically is inherited. And if no one in your family knew about the investment markets or personal financial statements, you probably won't either.
Well, for us to create a plan, what would you say we need to do?
Okay, so if you're listening to us tonight, now we got to have a debt plan payoff strategy. And so really, there are two ways you can approach it. You can either use the snowball strategy, or you can use the avalanche strategy. So if we even have a graphic. So I know this is small, but I'm just going to describe it. Okay. So on the left-hand side is the snowball method. So remember, I said to write down you're going to write down all of your debts. And particularly for credit cards, what you want to do is the snowball method says, okay, I'm going to take my smallest credit card, I'm going to pay that off in full, and then I'm going to take that money and pay off the smallest balance, right? Then I'm going to take that money, and then I'm going to pay off the next smallest balance till I get to the end. Now, this strategy is great because it's very motivating, right? There's nothing like you got a to-do list or something like that. You're just checking it off as you go. And so actually they say it even does something to you, in terms of your brain. It actually makes you feel better, right? Like endorphins, just like when you're running or something like that. So that's a great strategy. Although typically what we find is that quite often some of your largest balances might have your highest interest rate. So in this case, even though it's motivating to pay things off, you feel like you're making progress, you might not necessarily be saving as much money as if you took the other approach. And the other
Deborah,
approach.
can I interrupt for 1 second? Because
Sure.
I know people might be thinking this too. What if you become overwhelmed because you just have a lot of debt? Say, for example, the credit cards, the student loans, medical bills. I mean, it just really adds up. I know you're going to say you just keep pressing through, right? Or
Well, and one other way though is to get help. Now, one of the things I haven't talked about, but I do recommend if you're overwhelmed is to get help. And one of the ways you can get help is to use a consumer credit counseling service. Now, typically you want to, now here's all I'm going to put a preface on there. There are a lot of people that tell you they can make your credit score go up and blah, blah, blah. Well, you could do that your own just by paying off debt and paying on time, right? Like basically that's how you do it. But if you do need help, the Consumer Credit Counseling is a nonprofit agency. And if you Google it, depending upon your state, you'll say Consumer Credit Counseling of Maryland, of Delaware, of whatever. And they'll actually help you. They have coaches now, and they actually help you figure out a strategy. It's going to be very similar to the one we're discussing tonight. And they can sometimes negotiate with your creditors, right? Another issue that kind of trips people up as well are taxes. And so sometimes, right, sometimes you need to get like a tax attorney or something of that sort to lobby on your behalf. Right now, we're really talking about the do-it-yourself method, but I by no means, am saying that everybody has the wherewithal to do this on their own. However, if you are looking at a situation and you're in a situation where you're saying, you know what, I've kind of let this get out of hand, I need a strategy, then that's what we're talking about this evening.
Exactly. And so because the avalanche method, I know you're going to talk about that, it seems a little more sophisticated. Is it, or are they equal, do you think?
Well, it's not that the avalanche method is more sophisticated. So let's just talk about the avalanche method. The avalanche method, unlike the snowball where it says pay your lowest balance off, this says take your highest interest rate, right? So your highest interest rate, pay that off first. Now, typically, again, what I said, and you can see those higher interest rates, sometimes they have higher balances. So it may take a little longer, right, to pay off a large balance and then go to the next one, the large. So you don't get the feeling of just having things just, that one bill you no longer have to worry about, right? This may take a little longer, but when you add up the numbers, what you'll find is because interest compounds, right? So here's the thing that I love to tell people about. We often hear about compound interest and that it's the seventh one of the world, compounding at higher interest of return, right? However, it works in reverse. Like if you have debt, so one of the formulas for compound interest is take the interest rate that you're earning, divide it into the number 72, and it'll tell you how many years it'll take for your money to double. Okay. So think about this. If you have, let's say, a 19 or 20%, I'm just going to use round numbers, a 20% interest card, and you're just paying the minimum balance, which typically is not paying off any of the principal, then 20 goes into 70, what? 3 times, about 3. So in 3.5 years, right? That balance has doubled. And so that's so that's why it's so critical to negotiate your debt. I mean, right now with interest rates being so low, you'd be surprised. You can even, like if you've got a car, many cars, if they're less than 3 years old, sometimes 5 years old, you can go to a credit union and refinance if you've got a high interest rate. So the key is doesn't matter which one of these you take.
Okay.
It's just choose one.
Choose one.
And stay the course and have at it.
Choose one and stay the course and have at it.
Absolutely.
Can you do both at the same time, or
I would only do one?
I'll only do one. Okay.
Because remember, they're strategies, right?
Right. They're strategies. Yeah.
Yeah. So like any strategy, whatever you focus on expands. And one of the things we espouse in the Wealthy You community is that you really write down your strategy. We even go as far as creating a kind of physical illustration, right, of what your goals are. So literally, we do vision boards, and we're using electronic vision boards. And I really say, put that debt, a picture of that debt, whether it's a thermometer or whatever, and literally as you're paying that. So let's say it's 20,000, right? So you get to 19.5, have the little thermometer come down. Any visual illustration that you can make that shows progress is really how you can stay the course. However, yeah, I would say too that, and by the way, I'd love if anybody's listening to us, join our Wealthy You community on Facebook. It's free. And what we found is that the accountability and support that you get when you're around like-minded people who have the same aspirations and goals that you do, and you start seeing other people have their progress, it inspires you, right? It inspires. I mean, that's what the sorority is about, right?
That's true. That is true. And we want to inspire. We want to inspire others, and it's also the accountability to yourself when you get to see it in a vision or talk about it with others, because you're talking about real things and you're accounted, for, or you're accounting for it.
Yeah, and you make a public, a public commitment. There's nothing like making a public commitment.
Yeah, it's a public commitment. And I love that you've talked about Sharon Dean. Would you be able to talk more about how she, found all the money to pay off the debt so quickly?
So that's next. So, I mean, I'm going to show them the strategy that we use in Wealthy You. Sharon Dean, even though her debt was large, many women have used this strategy. So that's what I want to share with them, how you do a financial makeover strategy to not only pay off debt, but to also find the money to save and invest. So we know that we need to pay off debt. That's the fastest way. And so within your existing budget, a lot of times we think we don't have any money. And so I want to talk about the way she found that $3,500. And, we have women who find an extra $100, $200, $300, $500, $1,000. Over time, that money can really be put to use to accelerate how you pay off that debt. Absolutely. So can we just share that? Can I share that strategy with them?
Yes, I think that would be a great idea. I'm checking to see if we have any specific questions before we get to the strategy. We have a lot of people saying that they like hearing about the vision boards, and and I see that your Wealthy You Facebook community is listed here. I can't wait to join that.
Excellent. But, that's great.
I haven't heard the whole story yet, but I find her story, Sharon's, to be so fascinating because you're able to share it. There is that impact of just being honest and public when you want to about it so that you can have a testimony for other people. But $3,500 a month found, I think that's a win.
Well, yeah. Well, but it's interesting. And one of the tenets of our community really is that you will be transparent. I mean, that's the problem, is that so many of us are suffering in silence. And we feel like,
oh my goodness.
We feel like, and here's what I learned, I'll be honest with you, Lisa, prior to launching Wealthy You, the Wealthy You in 2015, I hadn't advised in years. I mean, most of my work really had been focused on financial literacy and, going out and doing workshops. And what became clear was that people needed more than just information, right? Like, knowledge is not power. knowledge correctly applied is, though. And so in launching Wealthy You, that accountability and support, I didn't even imagine myself what the power of community, right? Like I really felt that people had so much shame and they didn't want to tell what they didn't know, and that so I started out one-on-one coaching, right? And so those are very intimate conversations. But then last year we launched our membership program, our Wealthy You Society, where now women are publicly sharing, you know, what their struggles are, you know, how much debt they have, you know, maybe they haven't saved enough for retirement. And then what we find is like, yeah, that's me too. And then, you know, then other women are sharing, well, you know, I went from only putting 5% in my 401k till now I'm at 20%, right? And they're making those, but it didn't happen overnight. It happened over time. And it really has been the encouragement of you know, of the community. It not so much me driving anything, it's them sharing their wins. And so one of the tenets of once you go through Wealthy You, we encourage really conveying your wins.
Yes. Oh,
no wins, small wins, big wins, any wins. I paid off a $200 credit card balance. I just finished paying off my car. Those are the things that really are the fuel to inspire others. And then it's kind of like really feel like if they can do it, I can do it too. So that's been the most powerful thing about the community.
So,
absolutely.
I'm not sure if we've put this in the chat yet, but did you have challenges that helped people along the way as well?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, that's how Sharon found the Wealthy You community. We had been on, I think I may have been on, I don't know if you're familiar with Sisters AARP, and I had written an article, and at the end I had, hey, we have a challenge coming up. So by the way, we'll have another challenge coming up. It's our Savvy Money Makeover Challenge. And they can just go to wealthyouchallenge.com. I don't know if I wrote that down, but it's just wealthyouchallenge.com. They can sign up, and for 5 days, they learn how to find the money to pay off debt and to save and invest. That's how Sharon did it. And so really the first aspect of that, and that's exactly what we're going to share with the audience tonight. You can get this free worksheet, and I'm going to share with you how you do it. So ladies, so we talked about how one of our members literally went from negative 5,700 in net worth to over $500,000 in less than a year, right? And so here's all I want to say is now you're going to find out exactly how she did it. So one of the points I made earlier is that this is what we do during we usually take 5 days to do this Savvy Money Makeover.
Right.
But what we're going to do is teach it to you, the exact steps. Okay.
Right.
So now, first thing, and by the way, you can go to the link and get the financial makeover worksheet.
Yes.
So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get your bank statements from the last couple of months, and you're going to categorize where you've been putting where your money's going. Now, of course, we have our fixed expenses, our mortgage, and that sort of thing. I'm not talking about those, you know, basic needs.
Right.
I'm talking about your discretionary spending. And ideally, when you go through your statement, you're going to see recurring expenses, but those recurring expenses are going to be subscriptions. One of your two biggest items are going to be your cable bill and your cell phone bill. And you know, I'm talking about you really negotiating. Like there are two ways to do it. Call your company and say, hey, I'm going to leave. You know, what kind of bundle do you have? In those cases, sometimes you can save as much as $100. Or if they're not willing to negotiate, then one of the other things you could do is, okay, you don't even, who's got time to watch 500 channels? Most of us are binging on Netflix or one of those or Amazon or something like that. So you're going to say, okay, I'm going to get basic cable, and then I'm going to get my Netflix or subscription. That's a savings. I mean, cable, the whole thing costs about $200 a month. You know, you could save as much as $150 a month as well. The other thing we find in our community is ladies, I want you to negotiate. So negotiate is your auto insurance. Now, many of us are stay at home, work from home, remote. And so you're not driving all that mileage. So you're going to see a savings there. If your insurance isn't all in one place, you're going to want to bundle your insurance, right?
Okay.
Because then that's going to be a savings. But your other biggest items, discretionary, are going to be things like, well, certainly was in the past. Since COVID, I think we've all realized, right, that don't have to have our nails done every week. Don't have to have our hair done every week. Guilty. I'm not saying that, you know, I wasn't guilty of that either. I'm not on my high horse, but I am saying that I don't think it's something you just cut out. That what we found the most effective way in a financial makeover is that you do trade-offs. And trade-offs are what you say, okay, I'm not going to eat out lunch every day. 2 days or 3 days of the week, I'm going to take my lunch. So you make your crock pot, you take some of it the next day, or you make more of the meal and you take part of it for lunch. Those little things add up. And I mean, that's basically how Sharon, one of our members, found $3,500, right? They were recurring subscriptions, things she was no longer using, you know, or, you know, some of it was frivolous. See something on Amazon, boom, it's coming to the door. You see down on your street every day, that truck coming every day. And so really giving yourself an allowance, right? So I'm not saying cut out all spending. I'm saying instead of spending, you know, $1,000, $1,200 a month on frivolous things, say, okay, $300 a month. That's my budget for this month. And therefore, you really, you know, you feel like you have control, right? Once you spent that $300, keep it moving. But I think the most important thing, and here's what I want to say, and what we found in Wealthy Youth, ladies, is that once you decide, so you're going to finally decide what you really want. Okay. And so the choices that you make every day are now going to be, I'm going to base my decisions not on what I want today, but what I really want. And so the financial makeover is really about you finally deciding what you want. How would it feel to be debt free? Right? What would that, you know, someone asked earlier about paying off a mortgage. Well, you know, one of the goals that many of the members in Wealthy You have, once they retire, whatever that date is, they don't want to have a mortgage. That's basically taking up, you know, 30% of your income, right? So those are, whether or not you do it or not, depends on everybody's individual situation, but really being clear on that, right? So now you're going to make those trade-offs. And let's say the savings that you found an extra $300, $500. And in some cases, you're going to find $1,000, ladies, I'm telling you, we've seen that so much in our community. So what I really suggest is now, you're going to do the 3 steps, right? So the first thing you're going to look at is what's my net worth? Okay. Because your decisions now are going to be based on those little decisions every day. You know, like if you're making that purchase at Amazon, that's not making your net worth go up. So bottom line is you're going to start making different financial decisions. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to write down everything. You're going to track where your biggest expenditures are going. And then you're going to say, okay, I'm going to make a trade-off. So in that financial makeover sheet, you can plug right in what the savings are and what you're willing to give up. So basically you say, my cable bill was $200. I'm going to go to cable and Netflix. My savings is now $150. I'm dining out. Okay. Right now, and I'm not even saying lunch. A lot of you are spending hundreds of dollars,
Oh,
right?
me.
So we're gonna go out,
Yeah.
as a family or whatever, twice a month on the weekend. We're gonna treat ourselves. But those other, there's your $100, $200, $300, $400, right? Weekly. So you're gonna find that savings
That's
and you're gonna
nice.
make a commitment, and then you're going to redirect it, right?
Right.
Towards your debt. And the more that you're able to redirect, what happens is once you pay off that debt, it's going to free up money.
Right.
And it's going to free up money that you can now go to the other side of it. And one of the points that I made was what many of the members in Wealthy You do is they start looking at, where are my purchases? And those frequent purchases: Starbucks, Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
Dollar General, the dollar store. We get tripped up with that doesn't cost much. Five Below. Our kids love going there, right?
Yeah.
$5, but 10 things at $5 adds up. That's
I know.
$50. Right?
Yeah.
But those become, and one of the things our members do is they actually research and analyze those stocks to see, am I the only one spending, or are there a lot of people spending? So now what you see is, when we research, we're looking at revenues and earnings. Are those behaviors really sort of translating into potential buying opportunities and investments?
Right.
And here's all I'm going to say is that we have seen so many of our members, just the confidence that they have now.
Oh, that's so good.
Right. The confidence they have, knowing that they're taking ownership
Right.
of their financial future, and no longer, I think that's the most important thing that Sharon said to us. Because one of the other things we do, we have master classes every quarter, and typically our members get up and they tell their stories. I usually interview them and just, talk about, what they learned, what the biggest lessons was. And her business, her most important lesson, and I'd never thought of it this way, but she says, I had been so focused on earning more money.
Right.
All I was, I just wanted to have a higher salary. I felt like if I hit this number, that then I would be financially
Like
successful.
magic or something, right? Which is
Yeah,
not.
but what I found is, like, the more money I made, the more I spent. And not on herself, but taking care of everyone else.
Yeah.
And so she finally decided this year. And so now she'll probably be at seven figures, I would say, within the next year or so. So I mean,
That's
we have all kinds of transformations, like women who couldn't retire, and then after 4 or 5 years,
Yep.
they were able to double their retirement and really position themselves better. It's all I want to say. I really want to leave the audience here with this message.
Yes.
And it's really like, you can do and have anything that you want, but it all starts with a decision and knowing that it is going to take sacrifice. Like, over and over and over, when I interview women, it's like the biggest lesson they learn is that no is a complete sentence, right? N-O.
Okay, yeah.
Because oftentimes we're saying yes, we're becoming responsible for other people's financial decisions that we had nothing to do with, and sometimes we feel obligated.
Yep.
And I'm just really on a mission of helping Black women specifically achieve the level of financial success they desire and that they deserve, and that they learn how to give from a full cup and not a half empty one. Because when we give from a half empty cup, what happens is we put ourselves in financial jeopardy. And the best thing we can do for our children and our family is to be financially secure, and fully honor our our contributions, and we work really hard. And I want women to know that you can not only work hard, but you can learn how to make your money work for you,
That's
so
right.
that you
Yeah,
no
make your
longer.
money work hard too.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if once we can make that transition and that transformation, I think we will fundamentally change the economic outcomes of our families. Financial literacy, the conversations that you're having in this Money Matters program,
Yes.
this information is typically inherited. If you didn't have a financial advisor or family office, then
Mm-hmm.
most likely you didn't learn some of the information that you've been sharing, and you will continue to share
Mm-hmm.
during this series. And so that's really why I founded Wealthy You, to become that point of that fountain of knowledge about wealth that everyone can then use to pay it forward to their family, so that they will always have this wealth of knowledge to inherit.
Thank you so much, Deborah. And thank you for staying with us through the snafus. And I hope that our guests know where to go, all the links. You were such a wonderful
The
guest.
easiest thing is just join our Wealthy You community on
On the Facebook, right?
Facebook. Yeah, it's just bit.ly Wealthy You community will take you there as well. It's free. We have fun. We have all kinds of challenges. We have a challenge that starts May 10th.
Yep.
We have a Wealthy You wind down, where we chat and talk about wealth, and I interview different people and
Yeah.
have my favorite glass of wine. And we just have a lot of fun.
I know you are. And not only are you brains and beauty, but you are fun as well. So
Oh.
I can attest to that. And I thank you for that. And I just want to say, to our public audience, including our friends and family, we thank you greatly for attending tonight's session, Crushing Your Debt, Financial Makeover Strategies, and to our phenomenal guest speaker, Deborah Owens, on behalf of Iota Lambda Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I sincerely thank you for stopping by tonight. I think that we've learned specific strategies for paying off debt. We've learned financial hacks to eliminate that debt faster. And we found the money to invest and build our wealth. That's like the thing that puts the smile on my face. We would like to know what you think about tonight's session. We hope, I pray that there's some grace there, but we will be putting the survey link in the chat, and we would encourage each person to take it and tell us what you think. And please join us again in this space on April 26th, when Ayanna Baker will speak with Laura Bacon, founder and CEO of The Third, and she'll be speaking with Loretta Johnson, agent State Farm, on the topic of wealth generation. And that will be our last Money Monday Matters for the month, but we're hoping that we'll see you in and around all of these wonderful connections that we've made. Deborah, thank you so very, very much. And to our chairperson, who is also our tech person, kisses to you as well. Thank you so much. I've had a wonderful time facilitating this event, and we will be saying goodnight at this time. Thank you so much.